Hey, okay, so welcome back. And today what we're going to look at is painting 7 kinds of leaves in watercolour. And I see a lot of my students getting a little bit stuck painting leaves, and they tend to paint the same kind of shape and the same style again and again. And let's be honest here, like, nature's quite varied, isn't it? There's quite a lot of different leaves out there on many different plants. So practicing this is going to give you a closer understanding of the shapes of different leaves, because you're going to be looking at leaves and recognizing their shapes. But also it's going to mean that you can add in different filler leaves and different filler branches into all of your paintings, you know. So, and hey, look, this is really relaxing exercise to do, and you can do it again and again. I sometimes will practice these leaves just before doing a big commission. So let's dive in. So a standard leaf that I use all the time is a rounded leaf, and I mean it's on many plants. I'm not going to try and name plants because I'm not the best at it, but it is using the tip of the brush and then pressing down the belly of the brush and then lifting, and then you're going back in with some more paint and you're leaving a slight gap. You're pressing down and you're coming up and using the rounded section of the brush, so it's quite a rounded leaf. And then you can go in with a darker shade or lift if you've got a bit too much water on the page. So that's your first kind of leaf. Then you've got what's kind of classically known as like a eucalyptus leaf. It's a bit more blue in the colour. It's like a silvery bluish green, and it tends to be like a light shade. And a eucalyptus leaf would go up like that, very rounded at the top, with a tiny little tip at the top there. So that's your kind of standard eucalyptus leaf. It's a very rounded leaf, and you can see the belly of my brush is creating the roundness of the leaf itself. So that's the second kind of leaf that I'll use. Don't use that one too much because a lot of my larger pieces are abstract. But this next one is a leaf or a filler or a stem or a branch that I use all the time, and it's using the very shape of the roundness of the brush to create the leaves itself. And you're angling the brush the same way that the angle of the leaves are going, and you're doing your stem, and that is just it's a beautiful little stem to fill in on flowers. So let's do that again with a little bit of a lighter, because these overlap, give real depth to your painting. So you're coming in with the angle of the brush to create the leaves themselves. And then you're going in with a darker green or brown burnt sienna to create the stems. It's a lovely, expressive kind of stem to paint, especially when you fill in with a little bit of a darker. It just gives that natural organic shape. So that's one that I use a lot. That's your little small spiky leaf. That's number 3. A single brush leaves, which I use on larger florals. Now these are using my size 16 Escoda brush, and it's a shaped brush at the end, and is literally grabbing, fill in the bristles of the brush with the paint, and you're literally using the expressive nature and the angles of the brush to create the leaves itself. And if you use the sweep of the brush See how the brush itself will create those leaf shapes. It's a beautiful way to fill in. So that's a single brush leaf that I call that, with my big fat Escoda brush, size 16. Then you've got leaves such as the ones on tulips and bluebells. And for those, I will use my Princeton, I love this brush, a Filbert brush, and it's size 8, but I've also got a size 12 as well. And these leaves, they do take a little bit more control than those expressive ones there. And I'm going to come up the side here with these. So you start with the tip, and then you're belly down on the brush, and you're dragging it all the way. You see these leaves on like tulips, you know, they're really long and wavy leaves. So belly down and you're up, and then to the tip. Belly down, press, drag, up. Okay, that's your longer leaves. And then what I call a jagged spiky leaf, you know, like the leaves on roses or flowers like that, where they've got a more jagged edge, is still, I will use my Filbert size 8, my Princeton brush, and you're creating these in a similar way. So you're coming from the stem up, dragging down to create the body of the leaf, again down and around to create the body of the leaf. And I'm going to go in and make this one a bit fatter there. Okay, and then what you're doing to create the spikes is literally flicking out from the leaf itself. See how it gives it a more spiky kind of nature. And you can go in and fill in a little bit more paint if you want on the tips, because they tend to be a bit darker by the stem, but that'll give you a lovely kind of spiky leaf. And then this is what I call a fat body leaf, my last one, and it's a lovely rounded shaped leaf with a smaller kind of tip. So it's again starting with the stem, angled, round and up, angled, round and up, create that beautiful leaf shape. And that's your 7 leaves to practice in watercolour. And each time you practice these, you know, you're going to get a slightly different effect. Don't be afraid when you're doing your leaves and your paintings to kind of come over the top in darker shades, okay? And don't be afraid to like use the body, the actual shape of the brush, especially with a Filbert brush. It will create beautiful, natural, organic strokes itself with little control. Remember, we're all about letting go of all of the control here, you know, letting the tools allow your subconscious to work. So you can literally use very delicately the shape of the brush to create your leaves and your fillers. Play, that's the most important thing here. Just play and experiment. And then next time you're creating beautiful watercolor, try out different shapes, different angles, different sweeps. You know, when you think organic, nature's varied, it's organic, it's beautiful, but it also has structure. So I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial to show you different types of leaves that I use in my watercolor paintings. Any questions, pop them in the comments below. Thanks guys, bye.